the question is, who wants it? Well, everybody in the world with weaker property. So what is weaker property? Well, how about like a second house in Africa? Like how about land in the middle of Africa or Asia or South America? How about a building? And fill in the blank. Would you rather own a building in Venezuela or Argentina? How about a ranch in Colombia? Like everywhere in the world where you have excess money and you want to invest in property, the problem with investing in a currency derivative is the currencies are collapsing, right? And they're collapsing at 10, 15% a year in the Western world, but they're collapsing at 40%, 50, 60% a year in the developing world. So bonds, they're weak property. Real estate is weak property because you've got a politician that can do, they're going to tax it and they can take it away from you and you can't move it if you need to leave. And you can only rent it to people in the country. So, and then equities are weak property because the CEO controls that equity. It's a security. And if you own securities, the bank controls it. Like, let's say you own a security, you live in Zimbabwe. Well, the government of Zimbabwe can take it away from you. Try buying it at JP Morgan, they can take it away from you. The CEO can print more equity and they can take it away from you. If you're holding securities, you've got lots of risk. If you're holding real estate, you've got lots of risk. If you're holding gold, well, the bankers can print more gold paper and the gold miners can mine more gold and try to move through an airport with $10 million of gold, or try to move through an airport with $10,000 of gold. Try to move through an airport with $1,000 of gold. I tried to move through an airport with a pen knife that Amazon sold me and it was labeled as TSA friendly. I couldn't get a knife that's like a quarter-inch or half-inch blade through a metal detector in an airport. So your property is all weak, all of it. And so how much is weak? Hundreds of trillions of dollars of weak property. So ultimately, I think that there are 8 billion people on the planet, or there shortly will be 8 billion people on the planet, and they're all going to want some amount of digital property instead of like that second Airbnb or that investment property or that equity. I actually put in a survey. I said, what do you want to give away? Cash, stock, equity, or Bitcoin. It's like, 93% Bitcoin, 7% stock. Like that is to say, everybody intuitively understands that equity or securities are risky and that Bitcoin is property. And so it's like a 20 to 1, 10 to 1 or 20 preference if they need to own something. And so I think,
Michael, your audience is over proportionally smart also. You have a big Bitcoin audience, but I agree that this will be representative probably for the population in a few years. Otherwise I wouldn't be sitting here. I think it's impressive results for sure.
Yeah, you're right. You have to be educated. Among the educated, there is an overwhelming preference for property. And I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that if I offered you $1 million of real estate property in Africa, or $1 million worth of stocks of African companies, or $1 million worth of gold in Africa, or $1 million worth of Bitcoin in Africa, which of those four would an educated person choose?
I would take Bitcoin because it leaves me all the options to reinvest, hold, sell, move, everything.
Because a lot of people don't understand digital property yet, and they don't understand, and that's the only reason they don't want it. If you were to go to, most people in the world, and you say, go to Lebanon or go to Turkey, and you say, well, the Turkish lira is crashing, the Lebanese pound is crashing. What do you want? Well, there's a small group of people that will say, I'm going to stick with the local currency because I'm a patriot and because my political leader told me to invest everything in that. There's a large group of people that would say, I think I want to switch that to digital dollars. Like they know they want dollars. They know they want a dollar rather than, local Lebanese pound. I mean, there's a larger group. I mean, maybe 20% are patriots, 50, 60, 70% are going to take the currency. And then the last 10, 20, 30%, they're going to take the Bitcoin because they know that Bitcoin is even stronger than the currency. But that's the dynamic that's spreading right now, except every single day, people are getting smarter. Information is spreading, right? You can't put the genie back in the bottle. And so when you look at, what is my thesis for Bitcoin over the long term? My thesis is technology will advance. Everybody's smartphones are going to get more powerful. We're going to get to a world where eventually, Google and Facebook and Apple, they're going to also support this digital property and digital currency. I suppose even 20 years from now, there will probably be some kind of ignorant, patriots that are ideologues that'll say, I reject all new things and I'm going to just do whatever I'm told. But it's going to get to be an increasingly small portion of the population. And by the way, they're going to lose their money, right? Like the point is they're going to lose their money. The money is going to move to the wise. And so the smarter part of the population is going to get richer. The wealth is going to transfer, and that's going to create a strong dynamic. So, the Bitcoin path is clear. We're not in the concept of bear market only makes sense if you have a short enough time horizon. Like if you're a trader and your time horizon is 12 weeks, you can have a bear market. But if you have a 10-year time horizon, then you really have to ask yourself, what is the technology trend and what is the cultural trend? And the technology trend is clear. We're moving toward everybody on earth having a digital wallet that they can move digital assets around. That's clear. And cultural trend is people are globalizing. We're globalizing. We're using language like English. Like we're globalizing our language. We're globalizing our currency. We're globalizing our property. It's moving on digital rails. That creates an advantage for the early adopters. There's going to be volatility, but if you bought Amazon stock 10 years ago, you could have bought it for $250 a share. People would have said you're stupid, and if you were holding Amazon stock 20 years ago, it traded down 90%, right? Well, the world's second richest or richest man was stupid enough not to sell when it traded down 90%. Right? That's the key. I mean, when Facebook came public, the stock traded down 60% or something. It crashed, and Mark Zuckerberg didn't sell. And so, I mean, the real secret to success is you figure out the technology trend over a decade, over between 10 and 30 years, and then you just either make that asset or hold that asset. And you don't really obsess over short-term cycles, because you outsmart yourself, right? You'll be that guy that, you'll be convinced we're in a bear cycle, you'll sell, and then all of a sudden some piece of news will come out, the price will double, and you'll never get back in.
First of all, we mentioned the price target of gold, which would, if you put it over into the market cap of gold, which is like, I don't know, 9 trillion or something, over to Bitcoin or 10 trillion, then we would have a price of $500,000 per Bitcoin if it would be on par with gold. So you said this should happen within the next 3 to 6 years. So let's say best case 3 years, then another 3 to 6 years to 10 times that, right? If we are going from the store value into other regions. So you would say your best case scenario for a $5 million Bitcoin would be, best case scenario, speculative, of course, would be 2028. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's the best case, but I don't think it'll go that fast. But I think over a decade is reasonable.
Yeah, like you said, like 6 to 10 years, right? Of course. And once again, what is 10 years? If you can 100 times your money, people really forget about that. And in the end of the day, do you really want to make every day 10, 20 hours research what altcoin to invest in? Do you really want to buy high, sell low when you can have almost certainty for 100x, right? That is something the people have to ask themselves. So